The next morning. Beep, beep, beep. The alarm shrieks from my clock, the sound echoing like a scream inside my sleep-deprived head. I slam my hand down on the alarm, hoping my fingers find the correct button. When the room falls to blissful silence once again, I let out a long breath. Sleep threatens to take me once again, my eyes sliding closed, so I groan and roll myself out of bed. Ugh. My legs almost refuse to work. I force myself to stand, my vision bleary as I stare about my bedroom in the hopes of finding the right door for the bathroom. While continuing to try and ready myself for the day, tugging on my usual outfit of dress and cardigan, I begin gathering up my things. The morning sun blazes in through the square windows of my living room, the golden light seeping around the rest of my one-bedroom apartment. The building may be boring, flat, and made of unappealing red brick, but at least it gets a good amount of light. I glance about the room. Having lived here for years, I've kind of gotten used to how it looks. I purse my lips, not even sure what kind of decorating style I might have been going for before the mess piled on top of it. It's not like I meant for it to get this bad, with clothes piled on chairs, papers strewn about the tables and floor, and I'm not sure how long that pizza box has been there for. I lead a busy life. It's not like I always have time to keep things tidy. Shrugging off the thought, I shove my things into my bag, sling it on my shoulder, and head out of the apartment. At the station. Shuffling into the station, I glance up and almost stumble to a stop to see Douglas sitting at the front desk, in shock to find him here before me. It's hard to remember the last time he arrived before 10. Actually, the detective has just walked in, he says into the phone, smiling at me. Did you want to speak to her, Captain? Suddenly, I'm extremely glad I decided not to lie in. Oh, okay, I'll let her know. Douglas places the phone down, turning to look at me as I wait. He says the mayor was an idiot to send you out last night, but even though you didn't find anything, it paid off. Apparently people were happy to see you out and about. At least it wasn't a total waste then, I mutter, shrugging off my jacket and heading to my office. Inside the office, the unit is already at work, something I've grown used to walking in on the past few days. Farah glances up at me, eyes widening. Wow, did you manage to get any sleep, or is this your usual look? It's true. I do look more than a little sleep-deprived. When I'd managed to catch a glimpse of myself in my car's rearview mirror, I'd balked at my reflection. Shoulders sagged, skin duller than usual, even big dark circles appearing under my gray eyes. Not the most motivating image to see in the mirror that morning. I'm reminded of Farah's jibe as she smiles towards me. I scoff, shaking my head. Well, that's just rude. Just saying what I see, she replies with a shrug. I wish you'd see a little less then, I reply, rubbing my fingers at my temples, hoping it might help my tiredness. The fact that they all look bright-eyed and ready to go doesn't help the issue. Surely they only got as much sleep as I did. What's on the agenda for today, Detective? Nate asks. A voice sounds from the front of the station in response, echoing into my office. Is Detective DeWolf here? We all glance around to see Kate Hayes' pale form hunched by the front desk. Looks like my first task is talking to Garrett's mother, I reply. Maybe she'll have some new information. And with that small hope, I head back out of my office towards Kate, bracing myself for the conversation ahead. Back in the office. As the door clicks shut, Nate springs from his seat, turning on Adam with a frown. This is ridiculous. We need to tell her the truth. No, Adam replies, his voice quiet but commanding. We've had this discussion already. Last night changed things. We'd catch the killer a lot quicker with the detective on our side, Nate continues. We've been scouring through evidence for the past few days in hopes of finding his location in a town we just don't know, all while trying to convince the detective we've actually been trying to help her instead. Lower your voice. Adam steps forward and, though he's a few inches shorter than Nate, his presence isn't any less imposing. Nate scoffs and turns away with a shake of his head. Our job is to keep her off the trail, Morgan adds. It's not much of a surprise Morgan would side with Adam again, but it only serves to fuel Nate's annoyance. If we tell her the truth, it's possible it would only put her in further danger, Adam says, understanding of his oldest friend's frustration, but not willing to budge on this matter. Lying never did sit well with Nate. Nate frowns deeply. Keeping her in the dark could be even more dangerous. That vampire got far too close last night while patrolling. But we still managed to keep us safe, Adam counters. Yes, Farah says, a smile forming as she swivels in the chair to face Adam directly. That was rather lucky. Covering up her scent with your own was a stroke of genius. She grins wider. And I'm sure it had nothing to do with the way the detective nearly melted into your arms at the gesture, all bundled up in your clothes like that. With great looks comes great responsibility, Adam. The team leader's lip curls into a barely contained snarl, Farah's eyes sparkling with mischief at the response. Yet the memory of the moment they shared sends a ripple of excitement coursing through Adam, a feeling he very quickly dampens. The detective should know who she's up against, Nate continues. We have the vampire's picture. Let's just show it. Enough! Adam yells, slamming his hand down on the nearby filing cabinet, hard enough to dent the metal top. He runs his hand over his close-cut hair, letting out a sharp breath to calm the outburst. This is not up for discussion. It should be, Nate replies, though some of the fight is gone from his voice. How many innocents has this vampire killed because of non-action? They were human, Adam replies. I doubt any of them were truly innocent. The detective is here to help. It could get her killed. So could not knowing what she really faces. I said no. Adam turns on Nate, each of them holding their ground. This team is under my command, which means my orders are final. Yeah, Nate, Farah chimes in, dispelling some of the bristling tension. You should know that by now. How many times have you two butted heads, only for Adam to come out on top? Nate softens a little at the words. It's true their views often differed, and neither of them are afraid to vocalize their thoughts. She should know, Nate says again, though completely defeated this time. Adam places a gentle hand on his friend's arm. But she can't. You know the agency's rules. After a long moment, Nate nods in understanding. I need some air. He then turns and leaves the room, thankful to close the door as Farah lets fly another sharp remark. At the front desk. Kate's gaze flashes to me as I draw near, her eyes bloodshot and heavy-lidded. She grips the strap of her bag, her knuckles white. Is there any news? She asks, her voice catching. I shake my head. I thought you might be here with new information. No, She swallows hard, glancing between me and Douglas. Douglas shifts, visibly uncomfortable around the grieving woman. I wondered if you've made any progress on the case? I don't want him to be forgotten. He would never be forgotten, I reply, taking a step forward to offer what little comfort I can. This case, and your son's murder, are my only priorities. She attempts a smile. Thank you, Celeste. I don't know what to do with myself anymore. The smile cracks, her face nodding into a frown, and her breath chokes. Douglas throws me a wide-eyed stare of terrified uncertainty at the woman's sudden wailing, almost tumbling off his chair as she stumbles and leans on the front desk. Her grief is far too heavy for her to stay standing. Thankfully, Tina comes in just as the woman breaks down. Kate, what are you doing here? Tina asks. Kate manages to raise her head. I came to ask about the case. The words are barely audible between the crying. Tina lets out a heavy sigh, then glances at me with a nod. Come on, Kate. Let's get you something to drink. She offers a hand, which Kate takes. The pair of them shuffle away towards the kitchen area. Bloody hell, Douglas exclaims as soon as she's gone. I'm glad you got to deal with that stuff and not me. I shake my head at the boy before turning on my heel and heading back to my office. The headache throbbing at my temples serves as a remnant of the conversation. Stepping into my office, I pause mid-step. An odd tension is crackling in the air. Adam stands at the window as usual, but his shoulders are tensed, a frown on his brow and his fists clenched. Farah and Morgan are also unusually quiet. None of them are looking at each other. It's then that I notice a member missing from the unit. "Where's Nate?" "Licking his wounds, probably," Farah replies, though not with the usual smile. I arch a brow at the odd reply, half growing used to the enigmatic answers she often spouts. "Tina's dealing with Kate," I say, trying to dispel the odd silence. "She came asking about the case's progress." Adam shakes his head. "We'd make more progress on it if you didn't keep running off to speak to those people." There's a sharp brashness to his tone that's stronger than usual. I shake my head. Speaking to them is part of the job. You spoke to her once already. Any more than that is unnecessary. He folds his arms, but some of the fight seems to have dropped from him. A frown settles on my brow at the comment. And what if she'd had new information? I'm supposed to ignore that possibility? You should ignore everything outside of this case. We cannot proceed with you continuing to run about on your own. He quickly glances away, frowning in what I'm surprised to see seems like regret. Anger still flares within me at the comment. Then you know what? I'll do it my way, and you can do it yours. I march back out of the office, slamming the door shut behind me. Adam almost takes a step forward to stop the detective before the door snaps shut. He didn't know why he'd continued to push the argument. He'd regretted the remarks as soon as they'd left his lips. It was just the fight with Nate that had set him on edge. He was going to have to smooth this over. He refused to fail Agent DeWolf, especially due to his own stubbornness. "You're really testing your people skills today, aren't you?" Farah says, rising from her place to stand at Adam's side. Being able to piss off a vampire and a human, all within the space of a few minutes, takes real talent. Adam snarls at the youth, who only grins in response. Down in the lab. The bleakness of the pathologist's lab is plenty warmer than Adam had been during that spat. I just don't understand why he's so hostile at times. And here I was, thinking we were actually starting to work better together. "Ugh," I groan, rubbing my index and thumb over the bridge of my nose, and then smacking open the lab doors. Verda jumps at my sudden entrance, spinning to face me with a brow raised. "Bad day?" "Oh, you know," I begin with a heavy sigh. "Grieving mothers, overbearing team members, the usual stuff." Verda stands from his stool and walks towards me with a sympathetic frown. "Then I guess now would be a bad time to ask for a favor." "What's the favor?" "It's the hospital," he says with a shrug. "They're still ignoring my urgent requests, and my work has been stalled for days because of it." "Okay, a bit of a delay is one thing, but this is starting to get ridiculous," I reply. "I'll head over there now and see if I can't get things moving." Verda sags in relief. "Thanks, Detective. I really appreciate it." I give a nod. I'm thankful to have a task that I can actually complete, rather than standing around my office staring at the same lack of evidence I've been looking over for days. I turn around and head back out the way I came in. On the way to the hospital. So, I probably should have told one of the team where I was going before I'd gotten halfway to the hospital, but the fight with Adam had continued to nag at me. Still, I'll have to work with them again at some point. But after just earning my detective's position, I'm not eager to give up my first case to just anyone, especially not someone like Adam. I glance down at my cell phone, the silver phone rocking slightly on the passenger seat of my car as I drive. Succumbing to my more professional side, I pull my car over in order to call Nate. I really should let someone in the unit know. After scrolling through the contacts list, I hit his name and the phone rings. They all have agency phones, having given their numbers to me a couple of days before. "Hi, Nate. It's Celeste," I begin after a rather generic voicemail, wiping down my dress as I speak. "Just letting you know I'm headed over to the hospital to try and hurry them along with the test results. I'll drop back at the station when I'm done and check in then." I pull the phone away, click it off, and throw it back on the passenger seat. Then I begin my journey towards the hospital once again, now with a small smile of satisfaction. It's a little way to the hospital at the edge of town, and I grip the steering wheel to guide me through the tree-lined, open road. Sun strikes the windscreen. I have to blink past the intensity of it, the brightness cutting through my heavy thoughts of the team and the case. Finally, the hospital creeps into view, the flat, wide building visible through the wall of stark trees. The hospital is by far the newest building in Wayhaven, built on the remnants of the first ever warehouse constructed in the town. When Wayhaven's committee, made up of the town's richest residents, led by the illustrious mayor, had taken it upon themselves to renovate it, most of the town had happily agreed. Well, until they realized renovate meant tearing down the old building and constructing the bland, cream brick building with no character that now stands in its place. Still, if any building in town has to be rebuilt as new, then a hospital seems the best choice. Being taken in for surgery should be a lot less worrying in a state-of-the-art facility, rather than some old, crumbling wreck that maintains a feel of the past. I navigate the bend around the building into the car park, pulling into one of the visitors' spaces. It's hard to swallow down the feeling of seeing my little scratched-up vehicle squeezed between two gleaming sports cars. The automatic doors slide open as I approach, and I'm greeted with the open space of the reception area. I have to say I'm always impressed when I step inside. I never realized there was such an array of pallid grays and beiges to decorate with. The waiting area lies completely empty, which isn't exactly unusual. Everyone in town goes to see Dr. Turner first, and only at his insistence do they reluctantly visit the hospital, even in emergencies. I head to the front desk where the receptionist slumps in his chair. His gaunt face, drooping eyes, and sour expression are not exactly the most welcoming thing to be greeted with. I'm Detective DeWolf. I swipe my jacket aside, revealing my badge. I'm here about the blood test results for the station. The man immediately stiffens, a crinkle on his nose as he eyes the badge. His wan skin reddens. Our resources are valuable, Detective. The results of the living take priority over the dead. The lives being taken are just as valuable, I reply in a genuine tone. The receptionist fidgets in his seat, then lets out a sigh. I suppose I can't deny that. He raises his arm and points a bony finger down the hallway to one side. Take the first right, then the third door on the left. The blood technician's office is there, but I can't guarantee he'll have what you want. He's new and a bit strange. I'll take that into consideration. Thanks, I say with a nod, before heading off to follow the directions. Back at the station. The weather is brightening up. At least that's one good point about the day. Nate, usually one to try and look on the bright side, is struggling at this moment. Arguing with his best friend is not exactly new, but it always leaves a sour taste that he regrets. A chime suddenly rings from his pocket, making him pause from striding down the long street. Reaching into the pocket of his leather jacket, he pulls the phone out with the tips of his fingers, as though it might infect him. After a good few minutes of trying to figure out how the damned thing works, he manages to listen to the voicemail, making the screen blink with urgency. The detective's voice echoes from the phone. Hi, Nate. It's Celeste. Just letting you know I'm headed over to the hospital to try and hurry them along with the test results. I'll drop back at the station when I'm done and check in then. With a heavy sigh and reluctant steps, Nate swings around to tread back to the station to inform the others. He knows exactly the kind of reaction Adam will have to this news. At the hospital. The corridors are hard to navigate. Each gray-flecked wall merges into the next, and the headache-inducing fluorescent lighting masks any signs of natural light that manages to find its way through the low windows that line one wall. Thankfully, it's not far to the door I need. A nearby sign points it out as the blood technician's office. The nameplate hanging askew on the door announces the lab of Dr. Gale Leeway. I give a sharp knock, waiting for a response which comes quickly. Then I push open the door. Inside, the room matches the rest of the hospital with its boring decor and color palette. The small lab is chock full with counters, each one weighed down by machines that whir and beep. Test tubes and beakers dot any available spaces left. Though I barely see much at all, the intense stench of disinfectant almost makes my eyes water. Stepping further inside, I stare at the tall figure at the end of the room. Their back is to me, their shoulders draped in a crisp white coat. They make no move to indicate they're aware of my presence. I take a half step forwards, raising my hand. Excuse me? The doctor swings around, his face masked by enormous goggles. He yanks them off, the elastic pinging against his gloved hands. Yes? I'm Detective DeWolf, I explain. I don't exactly want to get off on the wrong foot with this guy if he's the one who can rush the test results through. I'm here about the blood test results the station's pathologist requested. He purses already thin lips. A shadow of stubble lines his jaw, dark against the paleness of his cream skin. The black curls streaked with gray that surround his face bob as he nods. His face is lined with age, but still handsome. Ah, yes, I remember. The staff told me there was no priority on those, and to keep them on hold until later, so I hadn't sent them out yet. I bet they did. I shrug away the thought. It really has become somewhat of a priority, Dr. Leeway, I reply, letting genuine urgency into my voice. Leeway? He frowns, then glances at the nameplate on the door. Oh, they still haven't changed that over. He gives a chuckle. Then it's Dr. He springs into action when he realizes I'm waiting for an introduction. Yes, of course, sorry. He offers his hand out after rolling off his glove, a smile wide on his face. My name is Dr. Ethan Murphy. I place my hand in his and shake it.